Hi everybody, I'm Chaz Underriner and this is Sky Macklay, and we're here at Stetson University in October 2020. We are at the Hand Art Center in the Gary R. Libby Gallery where Sky's fantastic exhibition Harmonitrees is set up, and we're here to talk about Sky's life and work and about this installation specifically. So welcome, Sky.
Thanks, Chaz.
Sky, first of all, can you just tell me a little bit about you and about your creative work?
Sure. So I'm primarily a composer of concert music for all kinds of ensembles, sometimes including electronics or multimedia. I also play oboe in a lot of contemporary music ensembles, and I do installation work. And my installation work so far has all been inflatable, kinetic, harmonica playing, sculpture-based pieces. So this
Just very specific. Yeah.
Yes, I've found my niche in visual arts so far. And so this piece, Harmonitrees, is actually the third harmonica installation that I've done. The first one was called Harmonibots, and then Mega Organ, and now Harmonitrees here at Stetson. So I just keep working with different variations on this idea because I find the sound and also all the possible ways of changing the sonic and visual design to be very compelling and something that I'm exploring, that I'm feeling inspired to explore a lot.
So how does your installation work and the harmonicas relate to your music composition and your performance, so the other parts of your artistic life?
Mm-hmm. I think one thing I love to do in my composed music is be very clear with my materials and present things in a way that is transparent, saying, here's my material at the beginning of the piece, this is probably what I'm going to use and transform throughout the piece, and I want the audience to catch on to that very immediately. And I think that attitude is also present in my installations because they are pretty focused. It's a bunch of, in this case, a bunch of sculptures that are all the same shape. They just have variations in size and pitches, but I want to sort of overwhelm the listener with a whole bunch of this one thing, and hopefully to the point of euphoria where they are very stimulated by this one focused idea. And I think that is something I definitely do in both my concert music and my installation work.
That's absolutely true. Yes, sort of like fixation. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and your installations are a really great example of that fixation-ness, and even the way you made them takes kind of like a very deliberate fixatedness. Can you talk a little bit about the construction of these objects?
Sure. So they're made of vinyl, and this is just transparent, called 8mm vinyl, which is a more thick, durable kind of vinyl. I knew a bit about working with plastic because I have, of course, made installations before, and in Harmonibots I used garbage bag material, and I combined a whole bunch of them in order to make these big fungus-like abstract creatures, but I connected them just like in the inner seams with tape. And then for Mega Organ I was using repurposed air mattresses from like for sleeping on, and I started using a technique where I combined the different air mattress parts using melting the seams together with an iron. So I would put the two plastic edges together, put tin foil on both sides, and then use an iron to melt them. I remember way back when I was doing Harmonibots, one of my professors at Columbia University, Douglas Repetto, who's an amazing installation artist, said, well, you could use an impulse sealer to combine the plastic pieces. And I tried that, but it didn't really work for what I was doing at the time. So an impulse sealer is something that you can use to melt two pieces of plastic together. It has a a wire that an electrical current goes through. The wire is covered with fabric, and you kind of push down the top part, and it gives you a very measured amount of heat that melts the plastic. So they're used a lot for like sealing packages of food or anything that needs to be wrapped in plastic. But it has a hinge here that holds the top and bottom part together. And so I could not really figure out how to make a long seam. It seemed like I could only make a seam that was as long as the impulse sealer. So I kind of abandoned that tool at the time, but then I realized that that was actually the best tool for the job for Harmonitrees. But what I had to do is hack my impulse sealer to get rid of the hinge on the side. So I just kind of unscrewed it and took off the hinge. So now I had two separate parts, and I had to just be more careful when I was putting the top and bottom together to make the seam. So my point is, I figured out a way to use the impulse sealer on seams as long as I wanted. And so, yeah, so the process was like, first of all, a lot of planning, a lot of measuring and thinking about these 3D shapes and how big I wanted them all to be. I made a prototype that I started out with about a 3 foot by 3 foot bottom and maybe a 4 foot top, and the prototype worked really well, so that gave me a lot of momentum and inspiration for making bigger versions. And so yeah, you just measure and cut out all the shapes, then insert the harmonicas in there are like a little bit deconstructed. The outer case is taken off, and some of the reeds are taken out. And so yeah, I like cut a little hole in the vinyl, very strategically cram the harmonica in there in a nice, secure way, hold it in with zip ties, reinforce it with wires, and then use the impulse sealer to combine them in sort of like sewing into this 3D shape, and then like turn it all inside out so the seams are on the inside, and that's most of the process.
Yeah, and if you actually look at the trees, like we're here amongst the trees, you can see the seals that run in very beautiful long seams across the entire tree. Should we check out one of the trees just so we can look at the long seams and everything?
Of course. So the tree I'm going to turn on right now is an A tree, meaning all the harmonicas are A major, and it's one of the biggest ones. And I especially like this one because I feel like you hear a lot of variety in the pitches that sort of pop out at different moments. Yeah, so I'll just turn it on.
One of my favorite things about playing with the trees that I noticed was whenever the trees turn off, there's this really long, beautiful diminuendo that happens, and it's sort of like, it's settling into the ground and like the air is kind of gradually going out of it. And it makes me imagine sort of like a string orchestra or some large group of instruments playing this like really long diminuendo. I'm kind of obsessed with them. And so whenever I made the piece, one thing that I've changed, that I've edited, is I want the trees to do this long diminuendo, and then for the instruments to kind of emerge out of it. Like we're playing quieter, and then we also, you can hear us come out of the tree, basically, and then we go away too. So the acoustic envelope of the tree is like fascinating to play with as a musician.
Yeah, the sonic envelope is definitely something I've am really focused on in this piece. So that means how does the amplitude of a sound change over time, and it, a piano has a strong attack and then a quick decay and then some resonance, and so the harmonitrees have a very slow build up to their real attack and then a very slow decay, but they're all different. They all because they're different sizes, their time that it takes them to fully attack differs, and I wanted this is an area where the visuals and the sound are really intrinsically connected, because when you see the crescendo, or when you hear the crescendo and decrescendo of the sound, the tree is physically, going up and down. So I wanted to create a sort of physical choreography that matched the sonic envelope.
Great. Well, Sky, thank you so much for being here, and thanks for your wonderful installation and for telling us all about it.
Thank you, Chaz, and huge thanks to the Hand Art Center and Stetson University, because I've just had an amazing residency here, and I really appreciate all the students who've engaged with my work and who've helped me with various elements of the residency. So you all are awesome.